Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to talk about how to fix the broken rod tip on a fishing rod. If you fish enough, eventually it's going to happen. You're going to either pop an insert out on the rod tip or break a rod tip off or anything like that. It's eventually going to happen. And in today's video, we're going to talk about all the tools you need and how quick it is to just pop a new guide on there and be back on the water in no time. So the things you're going to need in order to replace that broken rod tip are a lighter, a needle nose pliers, a piece of sandpaper, some replacement guides, and a little bit of rod glue for the tip. And all these items are, as you can see, they're very small. You can carry these along in a container in your truck on the way to all these tournaments or just fun fishing or wherever you're going, and replace it at the hotel or wherever you're staying. So it's really convenient to take a few of these tools along with you and be able to swap out that rod tip if you do happen to have a bad day on the water and break one. So the lighter and the needle nose pliers as well as the sandpaper is pretty self-explanatory. So let's talk about rod guides and the sizes that you need. Guide size will vary based on the thickness of your rods that you're using. They categorize rod tips by tube size and ring size. I typically stick with a 5 on the ring size, but obviously if you're using a micro guide or something like that, it's going to be a little bit different. But as far as just the standard rod without micro guides, I use the size 5 ring guides. As far as the tube size, it kind of depends on which rod you're using. So if you're using a jerkbait rod, obviously the tip's going to be a lot thinner, whereas if you're using a flipping stick, it's going to be a lot thicker. So you're going to want to go up in size on the tube size, and they're measured in millimeters. So a lot of them, whenever I got started, I bought anywhere from 5 millimeter all the way up to 7.5 millimeter, and they have them in half millimeter increments. So I would buy like a 5 millimeter, 5.5 millimeter, 6 millimeter, 6.5, 7, and so on. But then I kind of had a little bit of a supply of some rod guides. So if I had one go out, then I knew which one, or then I could kind of play with it and see which one fit that rod. As far as the glue, you'll want a specific glue that works for rod tips. And you can buy this at Walmart or probably any tackle store. What I get is from mudhole.com, and I'll put a link in the description, but it basically just comes in a little stick like this, and I cut little sections off of it to fix my rod tips. So now the process of actually fixing the rod guide. First thing that we will do is we'll remove the old rod guide. To do this, you will need the lighter and the needle nose pliers. Grab the guide with the pliers and begin heating the portion where the rod tip is glued onto the rod. Now during this part, you want to be careful that you don't apply too much heat, because applying too much heat will cause the rod to become brittle and you could potentially break the rod tip off itself. Now that the rod tip is removed, we will want to kind of clean up the old glue that was on the rod tip and rough the edges so that it'll help the new glue grab better. Using the sandpaper, I will remove all the old glue and rough up that surface. Make sure the rod tip you're using fits properly before applying any of the glue. I use the pliers again to hold the new rod tip, but you'd want to be careful that you don't grab too tight and kind of scratch up that surface or make a nick on that insert that'll potentially cut your line in the future. Cut a small portion of the glue off and put it in the rod tip tube. Apply just enough heat to the glue in the tube to melt it, and place that rod tip on the rod. For these, you will want them to slide on easily but be snug. You don't want to have to force them on, but you also want the glue to be able to hold on to the actual guide itself. When I put the rod tip on, I also like to rotate the guide almost either back and forth or 360 degrees. And what that does is it'll basically make sure that glue is throughout the whole surface rather than just in one spot. I will then set the rod guide where I want it and ensure that all the guides are in a straight line. And just like that, your rod tip's fixed and you're ready to head back to the lake and catch some big bass. But that glue will set up fairly quick. It doesn't hurt to let it sit a little bit, and make sure that it completely is not going to rotate your guide whenever you catch one. But thanks for watching. If you guys like these tips and tricks, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time.